Hey, what's up, everybody? Let me see. This needs another book. I got to get one of those things for this to hold the phone. So tomorrow on TMBS, we're gonna have Taibbi to talk about his take on this Russia thing, and also we'll probably touch on it for a second with Francesca Fiorentini. Um, but also talk about a whole lot more than all this Russia drama. But I did just want to say thank you. I just want to kind of lay out, I think, the sort of main takeaways and maybe a little bit more of a synthesis that we could have on this issue uh, across the board. So, I mean, I think the top line takeaway right now, as of this moment, that everybody on any sort of the left should actually be uniting around is why the fuck is Mitch McConnell not allowing this report to be seen publicly, right? Like, that's number one. Now, I don't think that that means that there's any sort of great secret emphasis, secret revelations that are going to put it all together in some kind of like Tom Clancy novel sort of way. No. But I also think that if you are investigating the Trump team and all of the people around Trump, there's no report you're going to write that's going to look anything less than incredibly unflattering. I think more broadly, these ancillary investigations, like in the New York Southern District, I don't know if they will reveal criminal, like, I don't know if they'll reveal wrongdoing related to Russia, but I have no doubt that emoluments issues, I can never pronounce that correctly, I apologize, and financial issues will be disclosed, right? Like, I have no question about that. So there actually could be, and I know, right now people are arguing with each other and they're dunking on each other. And I'll admit, I had some of my like brocialist fun because there was definitely a segment of the pundit class and the intelligence services that were delusional on this, that used this as a means to flatten out any broader conversation. Well, look, I'm sorry, Kyle's a right to gloat. I don't agree with him on every part of it, but he has a right to gloat, and it is pretty fun. And I do wonder what Saturday Night Live is going to do with the Robert De Niro Mueller character, which was not only embarrassing, it's also like, as a De Niro fan, I mean, come on. It was painful to watch that and embarrassing. And I think that, in fact, ironically, things have actually kind of slowed down in the past several months, and you've seen people kind of trying to walk it back a little bit. But, I'm reading Taibbi's piece in preparation for tomorrow, and it's like, no, especially in 2016, 2017, there was just a sort of established fact in a lot of media discourse that this was some type of grand secret conspiracy, that this was a sort of, some type of pulp novel. And it is embarrassing and it is wrongheaded. Now, conversely, though, I think that there should be a synthesis with release the report. That could be a unitary argument for transparency. The other thing, and again, look, Donald Trump is Donald Trump. He is a grotesque wannabe authoritarian. So you will see him try to use this. He's already used terminologies like treasonous to talk about people wanting to investigate him. So there is no question that people need to synchronize in response to what's happening now, right? Like, what's happening now is, it's a huge gift to Donald Trump politically. He's going to use it to reassert his thirst for vengeance and authoritarian tendencies. And we also could have a cudgel to go at Mitch McConnell, who of course is, the New York Times Book Review said, the gravedigger of American democracy. And that could be the broader point as of now. Now, historically looking back, I mean, and I will talk about this more tomorrow, both in my commentary and with Taibbi. Russia was an incredible problem. Like, just as I think that there were people who, so far, because of available evidence, in my view, they've been more vindicated than not. But it wouldn't be possible for them to accept a conclusion where, this Russia thing was bullshit. And I don't know that it's complete bullshit. But obviously there has been a lot of bullshit. I think that there's people, clearly on the other side of it, and clearly the strongest part of the critique was that people, whether they be in the Democratic establishment, the Clinton campaign, the MSNBC, Ponderati, of course, Lula Libre, always. Could you imagine how much better? Could you imagine if we took a third of MSNBC time to talk about Yemen, say a fourth on the coup in Brazil, the political imprisonment of Lula, then I don't know, poverty, climate change. I mean, I'm just spitballing here. But look, Russia drove ratings. First and foremost, that's number one. And it was the ultimate escape fantasy for everybody. I mean, you could have conversations with normal people and, really be trying to give a full and honest accounting of Trump. And, I think it's overdetermined. Was there a massive resurgence of xenophobia and race and misogyny? No doubt. Do I think Trump could have happened in another set of historical and material circumstances going back historically and out of a 40-year cycle of neoliberalism? I don't. I think it's both and. So you'd have conversations with people, and again, where, not hostile, not in any way minimizing what a grotesque, danger and stain Donald Trump is, but also trying to figure out what we do going forward. And the escape was always Russia. It was always, I love you back. It was always Russia. And I think that people need to recognize the extent to which this filtered into a certain kind of mainstream discourse. Now, conversely, there's another discourse that this has sort of gotten into, and that's the old thing that I've always said, that Russia makes everybody dumb in conversation, because does Russia have its own foreign policy? Does Russia have its own, global interests? Of course. I think, the actual charges against the GRU agents are very well developed. And yeah, of course I'm okay. And so, there's, there would be a similarity, obviously, if we went into and investigated the United States in terms of its global interference in campaigns. There's no doubt about it. So, I'm getting a lot of sort of things a little bit sort of confused here, but I want to just sort of disaggregate. One, no. Obviously, Mueller was not this political savior that people thought it would be, and it was never going to be. Extremely unlikely. Now, as of today, Trump is using this to reassert authoritarian arguments, and the Republicans are suppressing the report. We should all be on the same page in pushing back against that. And just as Bernie said, I want to see the whole damn thing. Going backwards, there was a huge slice of the punditocracy and of the Democratic establishment, and of a fair amount apparently of the intelligence services, who use this narrative to totally shift any type of real conversation about all of the crises consuming the United States. So even when you would get into, really deep reporting on, and some of it I think is true to some extent, some of it was overblown, But even if you took stuff that's totally on the public record, like does RT, which does some good journalism and has some good people working for it, hey, what's up, man? But there's no doubt, I mean, obviously it's an instrument of Russian foreign policy. Most channels that are funded like that obviously serve either a nation branding purpose or have overlaps with foreign policy. RT is definitely much more overt and aggressive than Al Jazeera English, as an example. So they're different in terms of quality. There's no doubt about that. But RT does some great work, and it's an instrument of Russian foreign policy. But when you would see certain pieces saying, look, Russian media or Russian trolls are exploiting social divisions in the United States or the United Kingdom, the answer was always, well, what about those social divisions? Like, yes, if RT is the only one that's covering Occupy Wall Street several years ago, if RT is the only one that's talking about the crisis of income inequality, if RT, back when they were more sort of pivoted on the left, were covering the police murders of African Americans, well, then or more broadly hosting voices of radicalism and dissent, then the real question would be, why don't those voices have access to broader megaphones in the United States? And what are the organic problems in these societies' politics that are being exploited, in this case, supposedly by a Russian foreign policy? So I think people overstepped it when they was like, oh no, because some people, again, it was like, oh my God, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see here. There's never any, like, Russia never could do anything wrong and everything is the United States and it's all conspiracy theory, blah, blah, blah. I don't buy that. I mean, Russia has its own foreign policy and they do their thing, just as we do. But anybody that centered Russia as the fulcrum of how to understand what has happened the last couple of years was dangerously off base and most likely really deluding themselves. And now, though, I would say we have to assess it, and we can dunk on liberals and certainly on Saturday Night Live and Rachel Maddow for, there's just a lot of ludicrousness here. It's ridiculous. But conversely, let's pivot now to this moment where Donald Trump is using this to push towards, asserting his authoritarian agenda. And B, why don't we see this whole report? That's the politics now. And more broadly, everybody that didn't want to talk about late stage capitalism, about race, about the mechanics of how catastrophically the Clinton campaign failed, these things are not to settle scores or to have little myopic arguments on Twitter. These are the historic struggles and problems of our time. And then if you want to push back and defeat Trump and defeat this global rise of fascism, this is touching us everywhere. It's true. India, Hungary, the United States, Israel, Russia. This is how we deal with it and how we confront it. So, again, and the United Kingdom, I agree with you completely. So tomorrow we'll have on Taibbi. I think Francesca has a bit of a different opinion. I'll get hers. I'm going to be very pissed in the opening commentary because I also just think, frankly, strategically, and I'm sorry, I'm going to be vulgar for a second, a lot of people blew their wads on this. Sorry. They put all of their strategy, all of their momentum, and all of their energy into this one payoff. And that is profoundly foolish. Doesn't mean that there's nothing there. It doesn't mean that if the full report isn't released, it won't look terrible. And it doesn't mean that high-level Trump people haven't already gone to jail. But that was the wrong strategic approach. It was the wrong strategic approach of everybody that put all of their energy on one thing. And if you're going to put your energy on one thing, at least put it on an organic thing to the United States. All of the incredible internal problems of our society and of global capitalism right now. But I think we need to analyze it. We need to make right the corrections. We need to enjoy our dunking and have some fun. And then we do need to synchronize on release the report and hold in check what Trump is doing. And again, there's no fucking contradiction here. There is none. There is none between not feeding Russia hysteria. And look, I think I have a pretty solid record on this. I'm not going to say I wasn't someone like Kyle who has some pretty solid calls on this, but I also wasn't somebody like Marcy Wheeler who's on the opposite end of it, who I still think has put some really interesting reporting together. I've said for like over a year, let's wait till the report comes out. And technically the report still hasn't even come out. Yeah, of course he's going to have fun. It was set up for people like that to have fun, man. Because people, if you watched MSNBC, this was the shit. This was the thing. And it's not strategic. So, I just want to say Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. And peace and love. And I from what I've seen, I think Kyle's called it very well. I think it was also he who said that potentially there will be ancillary investigations that could get Trump on financial crimes, which I totally agree with. I think, look, but again, release the report. I'm not fighting with Sam. Release the report. Release the full report. I mean, I want to see how fully and profoundly exonerated these people are. You know what I'm saying? And also, again, we're trusting, like, I do not trust this attorney general or anybody in this administration. So I don't have the same parsing of how he summarized Mueller's findings. And it seems to me that the bottom line political and legal takeaway is that there's going to be no more indictments. Right? So I'm weeping. No, guys, I'm not crying. I don't know why people, I don't really know. I guess my eyes are a little puffy. I don't know what's going on. So, but that's the bottom line. Now conversely, I wouldn't, and I don't trust Barr's summary of it. This is a guy who decided before he was Trump's attorney general that Trump was innocent. There's no doubt about that. So tomorrow, again, I keep saying this. The only other thing I'll hint is that usually, we do the historic-oriented cold open. But I will promise, I think there's going to be a Rachel Maddow sketch open tomorrow. I think we're going to do a little Rachel Maddow sketch. Would you like a Rachel Maddow sketch tomorrow to cold open the show? Would you like that? I thought that the conversation, thank you so much. I thought that the conversation with, I saw about half of it between Greenwald and David K. Johnson was great. Probably some of the highest quality conversations anybody's had about this. All right, Lula Livre. Let's get back to the actual important shit. Lula Livre. There'll be stuff to cover on that too. There's also an oil coup in Guyana. Kamala Harris didn't go to AIPAC, but she hosted a delegation in California. There's a lot of actual shit going on. Lula Livre, Allahu Akbar, peace and love. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.